What if the stories whispered by ancient civilizations weren't just myths, but memories? Thousands of years ago, the Sumerians carved intricate tales into clay tablets about gods descending from the heavens in fiery chariots. The Egyptians painted celestial boats gliding across the sky, piloted by beings with knowledge beyond human understanding. And halfway across the world, the Maya tracked the movements of stars with impossible precision, as if guided by an otherworldly hand. These aren't just isolated legends, they're echoes of something far more startling, a pattern that mirrors modern accounts of UFO encounters with uncanny similarity. Could it be that our ancestors weren't just imagining these visitors? Could they have been documenting real contact with beings not of this earth? Today, the line between ancient myth and modern science is blurring in ways that would have seemed unimaginable just decades ago. Governments are declassifying military footage of unidentified aerial phenomena. Astrophysicists are seriously debating the possibility of extraterrestrial civilizations. And archaeologists are re-examining ancient texts with fresh eyes, asking, what if these stories hold clues we've overlooked for centuries? This isn't just about chasing shadows or indulging in wild speculation. It's about confronting a tantalizing possibility that humanity's fascination with the stars might be rooted in something far more profound than imagination. So let's embark on a journey together, one that spans dusty ruins and cutting-edge laboratories where the wisdom of the ancients meets the tools of modern discovery. We'll decode the enigmatic symbols left behind by civilizations who claim to converse with the cosmos. We'll weigh the theories of researchers who see more than coincidence in these age-old accounts. And we'll ask the questions that linger at the edge of science and legend. Who or what might have visited us in the distant past, and could they still be out there, waiting for us to piece together the truth? The answers may lie hidden in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of human history. All we have to do is look. In the late 1960s, a Swiss author named Erich von Däniken set the world abuzz with a radical idea. What if the gods of ancient myths weren't divine beings at all, but advanced extraterrestrial visitors? His book, Chariots of the Gods, became a lightning rod for controversy, suggesting that structures like the pyramids of Egypt or the Nazca Lines in Peru were not just human achievements, but possible evidence of alien intervention. Take the Vimanas, for instance, flying machines described in ancient Hindu texts with startling detail, complete with roaring engines and weapons that sound eerily reminiscent of modern technology. Or consider the Dogon tribe of Mali, who for centuries have known about Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, long before telescopes confirmed its existence. How could a people without advanced instruments possess such precise astronomical knowledge? Von Däniken argued these weren't coincidences, but fragments of forgotten contact. Yet mainstream archaeologists have pushed back fiercely, dismissing his theories as cherry-picked evidence wrapped in sensationalism. They point out that ancient cultures were far more ingenious than we often give them credit for. Pyramids could have been built with human ingenuity and sheer manpower, not alien blueprints. The Dogon's knowledge of Sirius, some scholars suggest it might have been influenced by early 20th century visitors rather than ancient extraterrestrials. And those Vimanas, perhaps poetic metaphors, were misread as literal descriptions. The debate rages on, but here's what's fascinating. Even skeptics admit these mysteries do demand explanations. Now, decades after von Däniken's book first stirred the pot, a new generation of researchers is revisiting these ideas with fresh tools: satellite imaging, advanced archaeology, and even artificial intelligence to decode ancient texts. Scientists like Avi Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist, argue that dismissing unconventional theories outright might mean missing clues hidden in plain sight. After all, if another civilization did visit Earth millennia ago, wouldn't their traces be woven into our oldest stories? The key, perhaps, lies in balancing open-minded curiosity with rigorous scrutiny, not jumping to conclusions but not ruling them out either. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that the line between myth and reality is often thinner than we think. Long before the age of smartphones and satellites, artists were capturing unexplained phenomena in their work, images so peculiar they make us wonder if we're looking at early depictions of UFOs. Take the 15th century painting Madonna with Saint Giovannino, where the Virgin Mary stands serenely while a metallic, disc-shaped object hovers in the distance, glowing as if illuminated from within. Beneath it, a man shields his eyes, gazing upward in what could easily be interpreted as awe or alarm. Art historians often dismiss it as a symbolic representation, a divine sign or celestial body. But the precision of the object's saucer-like shape, complete with what looks like a textured surface, raises eyebrows. Could this be an artist's attempt to document something extraordinary they witnessed? Or is it merely an allegory lost to time? The mystery deepens when we travel even further back thousands of years earlier, to the rock carvings of Val Camonica in Italy. Here, among scenes of daily life and ritual, stick-like figures appear clad in bulky, helmeted attire, their limbs encased in what resemble modern spacesuits. Surrounding them are circular objects with radiating lines, strikingly similar to how we might sketch a spacecraft today. Skeptics argue these could represent shamanic visions or spiritual beings, but the parallels to contemporary astronaut imagery are hard to ignore. Did ancient cultures encounter visitors so advanced their technology could only be interpreted as magic or divinity? Then there's the Tassili Ennaja cave paintings in Algeria, where towering, elongated figures with rounded heads loom over smaller human forms. Their oversized eyes and lack of discernible facial features bear an uncanny resemblance to modern descriptions of extraterrestrial beings. Local folklore even speaks of the Jabaran, or the great gods who descended from the sky. Were these stories born from pure imagination, or could they be fragmented accounts of real encounters? What makes these artistic anomalies so compelling isn't just their strangeness, it's the consistency across cultures and centuries. From medieval Europe to prehistoric Africa, the same motifs reappear: glowing discs, suited figures, and celestial visitors. If these were mere symbols, why do they align so closely with modern UFO reports? Perhaps ancient artists, lacking the vocabulary of spaceships or aliens, rendered what they saw using the closest concepts available to them: divine chariots, sky gods, or fiery shields. As we piece together these scattered clues, one question lingers: how would an ancient human with no framework for advanced technology interpret a metallic craft descending from the clouds? Would they see it as a miracle, a monster, or something in between? The answer might reshape not just our understanding of history, but our place in the cosmos. And if these artworks are glimpses of forgotten encounters, what does that mean for the other mysteries buried in our past? Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines remain one of humanity's most bewildering creations. Enormous geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, some spanning over 600 feet. From the ground, they appear as little more than shallow grooves in the earth. But from the air, these lines transform into intricate designs: a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a spider with perfectly proportioned legs, even a humanoid figure with wide, staring eyes. The precision is staggering, especially when you consider they were crafted over 2,000 years ago, long before the invention of flight. So how did the Nazca people create such elaborate artwork without ever seeing their own handiwork from above? And more intriguingly, why? One theory, popularized by Erich von Däniken, suggests these massive designs weren't meant for human eyes at all. He proposed they were landing strips or signals for extraterrestrial visitors, a way for ancient people to communicate with beings who surveyed the Earth from the skies. The logic is seductive. Why else would a culture invest such effort into creating art they could never fully appreciate? Some of the straight-line formations do resemble modern runways, stretching for miles across the desert with eerie uniformity. And then there's the so-called astronaut figure, a peculiar glyph that looks uncannily like a helmeted figure floating in midair. Could these have been tributes to, or even warnings about visitors from beyond our world? Mainstream archaeologists, however, paint a very different picture. They point to the Nazca's sophisticated understanding of astronomy, noting that many lines align with celestial events like solstices or the rising of certain stars. These geoglyphs might have been ritual pathways walked by priests during sacred ceremonies to invoke rain or fertility in the harsh desert environment. Recent drone surveys have uncovered smaller, hidden patterns clustered around natural water sources, lending weight to the idea that these were spiritual markers tied to survival. And as for the precision, the Nazca likely used simple tools and careful planning, staking ropes from central points to create perfect curves, much like a giant compass. Yet even with these explanations, mysteries linger. In 2020, researchers using artificial intelligence discovered dozens of previously unknown Nazca glyphs, some hidden beneath layers of sediment. These newly revealed designs include surreal humanoid figures with exaggerated features, their purpose still unclear. And then there's the unsettling fact that many of the lines remain perfectly preserved after centuries, as if the desert itself conspired to protect them. Whether messages to the gods, star maps, or something far more extraordinary, the Nazca Lines challenge our assumptions about ancient capabilities. If they were meant to be seen from above, who or what was the intended audience? The answer might lie not just in the soil of Peru, but in the broader tapestry of global anomalies that suggest we've never been alone under these skies. Standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe, not just at its size, but at its impossible precision. This colossal structure, built over 4,500 years ago, aligns with true north to within a fraction of a degree. Its base is level to within just 2 centimeters, despite spanning 13 acres. And the granite sarcophagus inside the king's chamber, carved from a single block so precisely that modern engineers struggle to replicate its tight tolerances with diamond-tipped tools. How did a Bronze Age civilization without pulleys or iron tools achieve such perfection? The conventional explanation, ramps, copper chisels, and sheer manpower, feels almost as mysterious as the pyramid itself. Then there's Puma Punku, a ruins complex in Bolivia that defies logic. Its stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are cut with such geometric precision they interlock like puzzle pieces, no mortar, no gaps. The surfaces are so smooth they reflect light like glass, and the intricate notches and drill holes suggest the use of advanced machinery. Yet mainstream archaeology dates Puma Punku to around 500 AD, a time when local cultures supposedly had only simple stone tools. Could these builders have possessed knowledge we've since lost, or is there another, more startling possibility? Perhaps the most baffling of all are the granite boxes in the Serapeum of Saqqara, Egypt. 24 massive sarcophagi, each weighing up to 70 tons, carved from solid granite with corners so sharp they appear machined. The interior surfaces are polished to a mirror finish, with tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch precision, matching modern aerospace engineering. Even more puzzling, some boxes show drill marks with spiral grooves so fine and uniform that they suggest a drill bit spinning at speeds impossible without electricity. The official explanation that artisans painstakingly shaped these over decades using primitive tools raises more questions than answers. Alternative theories abound. Could ancient cultures have harnessed forgotten technologies like sonic levitation or advanced chemistry, hinted at in obscure texts? The ancient Indian epic Mahabharata describes weapons that sound eerily like nuclear explosions and flying vehicles called vimanas. The Baghdad Battery, a 2,000-year-old clay jar containing a copper cylinder and iron rod, suggests early experiments with electricity. And then there's the controversial idea of extraterrestrial influence, not as gods, but as mentors who provided knowledge beyond humanity's grasp at the time. Mainstream scholars dismiss these ideas as fringe, pointing to the ingenuity of ancient engineers who, given enough time and trial, could achieve remarkable feats. They cite experiments where volunteers have moved massive stones using wooden sledges and ropes, or shaped hard rock with nothing but sand and patience. But even they admit there are gaps in our understanding techniques or tools that left no trace, or collective knowledge lost to time. The deeper we dig, the more we realize how little we truly know about the capabilities of our ancestors. Were they simply ahead of their time, or did they have help from forces we're only beginning to comprehend? As laser scans reveal hidden chambers in the Great Pyramid and new discoveries rewrite timelines, one thing becomes clear: the past holds secrets we've only scratched the surface of. And if these megalithic marvels are any indication, the story of human history might be far stranger and more wondrous than we've ever imagined. The Aboriginal people of Australia whisper of the Wandjina, sky beings with large, luminous eyes and no mouths who descended from the clouds in thunderous storms. Their ancient rock paintings depict these figures haloed in radiant headdresses, wielding powers over wind and rain. Halfway across the world, Norse myths tell of the Aesir gods arriving in a blazing ship called Skidbladnir, capable of folding into a pocket yet carrying entire armies. And in the Americas, the Hopi speak of the Kachina, celestial teachers who emerged from the stars to share wisdom before vanishing as suddenly as they came. These stories, separated by oceans and millennia, share a haunting refrain: visitors from above, bearing gifts of knowledge, often arriving in vessels wreathed in fire or light. What's striking isn't just the consistency of these narratives, but the specificity. The ancient Indian text Rigveda describes the Vimanas flying palaces with roaring engines and weaponry that could destroy cities in a flash. Compare that to the medieval European account of the airship of Clonmacnoise, where a silver craft hovered over a monastery before its crew cut loose an anchor, which was later preserved as a relic. Or the Dogon's precise knowledge of Sirius B's 50-year orbit, a star invisible without telescopes. Could these details be mere coincidence or fragments of something more extraordinary? Modern researchers are beginning to approach these legends with fresh rigor. Take the work of Dr. Paul Nation, who analyzed Hopi oral traditions describing celestial events, like a blue star Kachina foretelling upheaval, and cross-referenced them with astronomical data. Or the team at the University of Helsinki using AI to map global mythologies, uncovering patterns in sky god descriptions that align with modern UFO reports, elongated beings, metallic crafts, and sudden departures. Even NASA, a recent study on unidentified aerial phenomena, acknowledges that some sightings defy conventional explanation, leaving room for questions we once dismissed as fantasy. Skeptics argue these parallels stem from universal human psychology, a tendency to personify natural phenomena like comets or auroras. But that doesn't explain why cultures with no contact describe nearly identical visitors. The Maya's Popol Vuh speaks of gods who knew all things and traveled in serpent ropes of light, while Chinese texts from the Han Dynasty record pearls that darted across the sky like weaving shuttles. If these were mere myths, why do they read like eyewitness accounts? Perhaps the most provocative question isn't whether these stories are true, but whether they're misremembered. Cognitive scientists like Dr. Kelly Clancy suggest that traumatic or awe-inspiring events like an encounter with advanced technology could warp over generations, blending with cultural symbols. A metallic craft might become a fiery chariot, or a spacesuit a god's radiant armor. This folklore distortion theory could explain why ancient art often depicts the same strange motifs: helmeted figures, disc-shaped objects, and beams of light. As astrophysicists scan the cosmos for technosignatures and archaeologists dust off forgotten texts, we're left with a tantalizing possibility. These myths might not just be humanity's first science fiction, they could be our first documentaries, imperfectly preserved. The sky gods of old might not have been deities but travelers, and their chariots perhaps just ships we're only now beginning to understand. The universe is unimaginably vast, with hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, many hosting planets in the so-called Goldilocks zone where life could thrive. Given these staggering numbers, the odds seem overwhelmingly in favor of other civilizations existing out there. So where is everybody? This is the heart of the Fermi paradox, the glaring contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the complete lack of definitive evidence for it. Scientists have proposed countless solutions. Maybe advanced civilizations self-destruct, or perhaps space travel is too difficult even for them. But what if we've been looking for evidence in all the wrong places? What if the answers aren't just hidden in distant star systems, but buried in our own past? Ancient myths might hold clues modern science has overlooked. Consider this: if an advanced species visited Earth thousands of years ago, how would our ancestors have recorded the encounter? Without the vocabulary of spaceships or extraterrestrials, they might have described these visitors as gods descending from the heavens in fiery chariots, exactly the imagery we find in Sumerian tablets, Hindu epics, and indigenous oral traditions. The very stories dismissed as mere folklore could be humanity's first attempts to document contact. Even the Bible's book of Ezekiel describes a wheel within a wheel descending from the sky, accompanied by beings with metallic legs and voices like roaring waters. A passage so bizarre that NASA engineer Joseph Blumrich once tried to reverse engineer it as a UFO sighting. Recent discoveries only deepen the mystery. Astronomers have now confirmed over 5,000 exoplanets, with estimates suggesting there could be 40 billion Earth-like worlds in our galaxy alone. The James Webb Space Telescope has detected complex organic molecules, the building blocks of life in the atmospheres of distant planets. Meanwhile, projects like Breakthrough Listen are scanning millions of stars for artificial radio signals. Yet silence persists, but here's the twist. If ancient civilizations did interact with extraterrestrials, those beings might not have come from another star at all. Some theorists speculate they could have been time travelers, interdimensional entities, or even remnants of a lost Earth-bound civilization far older than we realize. The next generation of telescopes might finally bridge myth and reality. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory, set to begin sweeping the skies in 2025, will catalog billions of celestial objects, hunting for anomalies that could point to artificial structures like Dyson spheres or alien megaprojects. At the same time, advances in AI are allowing researchers to sift through ancient texts and artifacts for overlooked patterns, cross-referencing myths with astronomical events. Could these tools help us decode a message left in plain sight, hidden in the very stories we've told for millennia? The Fermi paradox forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. If we've been searching for aliens in the future while ignoring the whispers of the past, we might have been staring at the puzzle pieces all along, just not recognizing the picture they form. As we peer deeper into the cosmos and dust off forgotten legends, we might finally realize that the answer to "where is everybody" has been here all along, echoing in the stories our ancestors left behind. The universe isn't silent, we just need to learn how to listen. In 2017, the world caught its first official glimpse of what the Pentagon calls UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. The now declassified videos captured by U.S. Navy pilots show objects moving in ways that defy our understanding of physics. One clip, nicknamed Tic Tac for the object's smooth, oblong shape, depicts a craft accelerating from a hover to Mach 5 in seconds without exhaust plumes, wings, or any visible propulsion. Radar operators tracked it descending 80,000 feet in less than a second, a maneuver that would liquefy human pilots. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept, but the object outmaneuvered them effortlessly, as if it knew their every move. These aren't grainy, distant specks. These are high-resolution recordings from the world's most advanced military sensors, backed by sworn testimony from seasoned aviators. The parallels to ancient accounts are impossible to ignore. Compare the tic-tac to the fiery shields described in Roman chronicles, or the sky pearls darting like weaving shuttles in ancient Chinese texts. Even the Bible's Book of Enoch speaks of chariots of wind that could traverse the heavens without wings. The similarities don't stop at appearance. Modern pilots report UAPs disrupting their instruments, a phenomenon eerily echoed in medieval tales of knights whose swords melted like wax when celestial lights appeared. Could these be different interpretations of the same underlying technology? Skeptics argue that today's sightings are merely misidentified drones, weather balloons, or secret military projects. Yet the data tells a stranger story. In 2021, the U.S. government's preliminary UAP report admitted that 144 incidents remained unexplained, 80 of which were captured on multiple sensors. Some objects exhibited low observability, meaning they were nearly invisible to radar, while others seemed to break the sound barrier without a sonic boom, violating known aerodynamics. Retired Commander David Fravor, who encountered the tic-tac, put it bluntly: "This wasn't a glitch, it wasn't an illusion, it was real, and it was far beyond anything we have." What's most striking isn't just the technology, but the behavior. Ancient texts often describe celestial visitors appearing during times of crisis, floods, wars, or societal collapse. Fast forward to the 21st century, and UAPs cluster around nuclear facilities. Declassified documents reveal repeated incidents where unidentified objects hovered over missile silos in the 1960s, temporarily disabling their launch systems. Former U.S. Air Force officer Robert Sollers testified that one such event at Malmstrom Air Force Base left 10 nuclear missiles inert, while a glowing red object pulsed overhead. Coincidence or a pattern echoing across millennia? The Pentagon's recent shift from dismissal to active investigation suggests even officials are reconsidering old assumptions. NASA's 2023 UAP study marked the first time a major scientific institution openly entertained the idea that these phenomena might represent extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence. Meanwhile, civilian researchers like those at the Galileo Project are deploying high-tech observatories to capture UAPs with scientific rigor, free from military secrecy. As we piece together these fragments, ancient and modern, a tantalizing thread emerges. If UAPs are real, and if their behavior mirrors the sky gods of old, then humanity might be facing a revelation far grander than we've dared to imagine. Not just that we're not alone, but that we've never been. The question isn't whether our ancestors saw something extraordinary. It's whether we're finally ready to accept what they tried to tell us. For over 60 years, scientists have been scouring the cosmos for whispers of intelligence beyond Earth, listening for radio signals that might carry the signature of another civilization. Projects like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have turned massive radio telescopes toward thousands of stars, hoping to catch even a fleeting transmission. In 1977, the Big Ear Telescope in Ohio picked up something extraordinary, a 72-second burst of radio waves so powerful and precise that astronomer Jerry Amon circled it on the printout and wrote, "Wow." In the margin, the signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, matched the expected frequency for interstellar communication, and then vanished despite decades of follow-up scans. It was never detected again. Was this the fleeting hello we've been waiting for, or just a cosmic coincidence? The WOW signal remains one of astronomy's greatest unsolved mysteries. But what if we've been tuning our receivers to the wrong channel? Modern initiatives like Breakthrough Listen, funded by billionaire Yuri Milner, are expanding the search beyond radio waves, scanning for laser pulses, infrared signatures, even microscopic probes that might have drifted into our solar system. Yet some researchers argue we're still missing a crucial clue, the very myths we've been dismissing as fiction. Ancient star maps like the Aboriginal song lines that encode celestial knowledge in oral tradition, or the Dogon's focus on Sirius, might point to regions of the sky worth prioritizing. Could these stories be more than folklore? Could they be guideposts left by ancestors who knew where to look? The challenge isn't just technological, it's philosophical. Our search assumes extraterrestrials think like us, communicate like us, even build like us. But what if their technology operates on principles we haven't yet imagined? The Norse legend of the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost, described as a shimmering pathway to the gods, sounds suspiciously like a wormhole or warp conduit. Hindu texts speak of divine sight, allowing sages to perceive distant worlds, a concept uncomfortably close to quantum entanglement. Even the Bible's account of Elijah's fiery chariot vanishing into the sky reads like a primitive description of a cloaking device. Perhaps the most humbling possibility is that we're not just searching for the wrong signals, but the wrong forms of intelligence. What if the universe teems with civilizations so advanced their presence is woven into the fabric of reality itself, untraceable by our instruments, yet hinted at in the stories passed down through generations? As we train our telescopes on the stars, we might do well to revisit the wisdom etched in ancient temples and scrolls. The truth could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to connect the dots between mythology and astrophysics. And if that's the case, the greatest discovery in human history might not come from a telescope's data feed, but from rereading our oldest tales with fresh eyes. Buried in the dusty archives of Baghdad's National Museum lies an object that shouldn't exist, a clay jar no larger than a fist, dating back 2,000 years to the Parthian Empire. Inside, a copper cylinder houses an iron rod, all sealed with an asphalt plug. When filled with vinegar or citrus juice, this unassuming artifact produces something extraordinary: electricity. Dubbed the Baghdad Battery, it's one of archaeology's most hotly debated relics, Could ancient civilizations have harnessed electroplating to gild jewelry or perform medical procedures? Experiments by researchers like Dr. Arne Egebrecht showed replicas capable of generating up to 2 volts, enough to electroplate a thin layer of gold onto silver. Yet mainstream historians remain skeptical, arguing it might have been a storage vessel for sacred scrolls, the acidic residue merely coincidental. But if it was a battery, who taught them this technology? And what other secrets might have been lost to time? Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, a corroded bronze device salvaged from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck off the coast of Greece. At first glance, it resembled a lump of rock, but when X-rays revealed its interior, scientists were stunned. Gears interlocked with precision worthy of a Swiss watch, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, even predicting eclipses. This wasn't just a calendar, it was an analog computer centuries ahead of its time. Historian Derek de Solla Price spent decades deciphering its workings, marveling at how its differential gears, a technology thought invented in the 1600s, could model the irregular orbit of the moon. How did the Greeks achieve such sophistication? Some speculate the knowledge came from the Library of Alexandria, that great repository of ancient wisdom burned to ashes. Others whisper of influences far older or far stranger. The controversy deepens with artifacts like the Saqqara bird, a wooden figurine discovered in an Egyptian tomb. With its aerodynamic wings and vertical tail fin, it looks eerily like a modern glider. When aviation expert Simon Sanderson tested a replica, it demonstrated stable flight characteristics, raising questions about whether the Egyptians understood principles of aerodynamics millennia before the Wright brothers. Or consider the Vikramshila University ruins in India, where locals speak of Agniastra, weapons that could reduce armies to ash, descriptions unsettlingly reminiscent of modern explosives. Mainstream scholars urge caution, pointing to humanity's capacity for ingenuity. The Antikythera mechanism might reflect the pinnacle of Greek astronomical knowledge, not alien intervention. The Baghdad battery could be an outlier, not proof of widespread technology, but fringe researchers counter with a compelling thought. If these artifacts were the result of lost human innovation, why don't we find more of them? Why do they appear as isolated flashes of brilliance in the archaeological record? The truth might lie somewhere in between. Perhaps ancient cultures, through painstaking observation and trial, achieved breakthroughs we've only recently rediscovered. Or maybe they had help, not from gods or aliens, but from a now-vanished civilization even older than Sumer or Egypt. As underwater archaeologists uncover sunken cities like Dwarka off India's coast, or as LiDAR scans reveal vast, jungle-shrouded metropolises in the Amazon, we're forced to reconsider the timeline of human progress. What's most thrilling isn't just the possibility that these artifacts are proof of extraterrestrial contact, it's the realization that history is far more fluid than we've been taught. Every unearthed relic, every translated text, every recalibrated carbon date has the power to rewrite our story. And if objects like these were merely the tip of the iceberg, what other marvels lie buried, waiting to shatter our assumptions once and for all? Mars has always been the celestial neighbor that captured our imagination, whether as the Roman god of war or the setting for countless science fiction tales. But today, for the first time in history, we're not just dreaming about the red planet, we're scraping its surface with robotic geologists. NASA's Perseverance rover, trundling through Jezero crater, has uncovered something startling: organic molecules preserved in ancient lake beds. These aren't proof of life, not yet, but they're the building blocks that could have once nurtured it. Meanwhile, Europe's upcoming JUICE mission and NASA Europa Clipper are preparing to launch toward Jupiter's icy moon, where a hidden ocean sloshes beneath a frozen crust. Scientists estimate Europa's subsurface seas could hold twice the water of Earth's oceans, warmed by tidal forces into a potential haven for life. What's fascinating isn't just the science, it's how eerily these discoveries mirror humanity's oldest myths. The Babylonians wrote of the Apkallu, divine beings who emerged from the Apsu, a primordial watery abyss, to bestow wisdom. The Maori speak of Rangi and Papa, celestial parents whose children dwell in hidden realms beneath the earth. And the Hindu Rigveda describes Jalaya, creatures born of water, long before biology confirmed life's aquatic origins. Could these stories be more than poetic metaphors? Could they be fragmented memories of a time when our ancestors glimpsed or even encountered life from beyond Earth? Here's where extremophiles rewrite the rules. On our own planet, scientists have discovered microbes thriving in places once deemed uninhabitable, boiling hydrothermal vents, acidic lakes, even the radioactive wreckage of Chernobyl. The tardigrade, a microscopic creature no larger than a grain of sand, can survive the vacuum of space, extreme radiation, and temperatures near absolute zero. If life can persist in these conditions on Earth, why not in the briny depths of Europa or the subterranean aquifers of Mars? Astrobiologist Dr. Penelope Boston famously studied bacteria living inside crystals in Mexico's Nazca mine, organisms trapped for tens of thousands of years yet still alive. "We've grossly underestimated life's tenacity," she concluded. "Now consider the myths again." The Greek legend of Deucalion's flood tells of humanity reborn from stones tossed over their shoulders, a tale that takes on new meaning when you realize some extremophiles can enter suspended animation, essentially turning to stone until revived by water. The Norse Yggdrasil, a cosmic tree linking 9 worlds, mirrors modern theories of panspermia, where life hitchhikes between planets on comets or asteroids. Even the biblical tale of Lot's wife, transformed into a pillar of salt, could reflect ancient observations of halophiles, salt-loving microbes that form crystalline structures. As our probes drill into Martian clay and prepare to taste Europa's geysers, we're not just searching for microbes, we're testing a radical idea that life isn't an accident confined to Earth, but a cosmic inevitability, one our ancestors might have recognized long before telescopes or rovers. And if we do find even a single bacterium beyond our planet, it won't just change biology. It'll force us to reread every creation myth, every sky god legend, every story of transformation as potential chapters in a much grander story. The line between science and myth has never been thinner or more tantalizing. What if the beings ancient cultures called gods and modern witnesses describe as extraterrestrials aren't from distant planets at all, but from dimensions beyond our perception? This radical idea, gaining traction among physicists and consciousness researchers alike, suggests that UFO phenomena might be glimpses of intelligences existing parallel to our reality. The concept isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Quantum physics already tells us our universe operates in at least 11 dimensions, most curled up at scales too tiny to observe. Could some of these hidden layers be home to forms of life that occasionally bleed into our world, appearing as luminous crafts or enigmatic figures? Ancient shamanic traditions lend eerie weight to this theory. Across the globe, from the Amazon to Siberia, ritual practitioners describe entering trance states where they encounter beings of light, entities who impart knowledge, heal the sick, or foretell events. The Huicol people of Mexico ingest peyote to journey into what they call Wirikuta, a realm where time flows differently and spirits take forms resembling modern descriptions of greys. Similarly, the Aboriginal Mangjit speak of slipping through cracks in reality to meet the Mimi, slender beings who taught them hunting and art. These accounts share striking details with contemporary UFO encounters, sudden time loss, telepathic communication, and a sense of reality bending at the edges. Mainstream science has long dismissed such experiences as hallucinations, but cutting-edge research is blurring that line. The CIA's once classified Stargate project explored remote viewing, the ability to perceive distant locations through consciousness alone, with startling results. In one declassified experiment, viewer Joseph McMonagle accurately sketched a Soviet nuclear facility down to the placement of cranes, despite having no prior knowledge of the site. Meanwhile, experiments in quantum entanglement show particles instantaneously influencing each other across vast distances, suggesting information can transcend space-time. Could consciousness itself be the bridge between dimensions? The implications are staggering. If UFOs are interdimensional rather than interstellar, it would explain their ability to appear and vanish abruptly, defy gravity, and even morph shape, all behaviors reported by witnesses but impossible under known physics. It might also clarify why these phenomena so often intertwine with altered states, meditation, near-death experiences, or psychedelic rituals. The late Harvard psychiatrist Dr. John Mack famously studied experiencers who claimed contact with non-human intelligences. Rather than diagnosing them as delusional, he concluded their accounts represented a genuine, if inexplicable, interaction with something beyond our current understanding. This convergence of science and spirituality raises profound questions. Are shamans and astronauts encountering the same phenomenon through different lenses? Could the veil between worlds described by mystics be a mutable boundary science hasn't yet quantified? As researchers like Dr. Gary Nolan at Stanford analyze the brains of those who report encounters, finding unusual neural structures in their caudate putamen regions, we're forced to reconsider the nature of reality itself. Perhaps the truth isn't out there in the stars but all around us, woven into the fabric of existence in ways we're only beginning to sense. And if that's the case, the next great leap in understanding might not come from a telescope, but from exploring the untapped potential of human consciousness. Long before physicists scribbled equations about parallel universes, Hindu sages spoke of countless Brahmandas, self-contained cosmic eggs, each with its own laws of reality. The ancient text Vishnu Purana describes these realms as infinite in number, some where time flows backward, others where water flows uphill. Fast forward to 21st century string theory, and scientists propose a multiverse bubbling with pocket dimensions, each with unique physical constants. The resemblance is uncanny. Could these be two languages describing the same profound truth, one through metaphor, the other through mathematics? Indigenous cultures add another layer to this mystery. The Hopi calendar doesn't march linearly toward progress but spirals through repeating ages of creation and destruction, mirroring modern cosmology's cyclical models of big bangs and big crunches. The Mayan long count measured time in vast cycles called bactons, each lasting 144,000 days, echoing physicist Paul Steinhardt's theory of an ekpyrotic universe that endlessly collapses and rebirths. Even the Norse myth of Ragnarök, where the world is consumed by fire only to rise anew, reads like a poetic rendering of entropy and renewal. These parallels raise a tantalizing question. Were ancient cultures preserving scientific insights through stories, waiting for us to develop the tools to decode them? Modern technology might finally crack the cipher. Artificial intelligence now analyzes Sanskrit texts with algorithms designed to detect hidden patterns, uncovering precise astronomical data embedded in poetic verses. The Mahabharata, for instance, describes a war where arrows blazed like comets, a passage some researchers interpret as a coded account of celestial events. Meanwhile, quantum computers simulate alternate timelines, testing whether ancient cyclical time models align with multiverse math. Archaeologists armed with LiDAR scan temple alignments, discovering that structures like Angkor Wat aren't just spiritual monuments but celestial maps, their corridors tracking precessional cycles modern science confirmed only centuries later. The most provocative idea isn't that ancient people guessed right, it's that they knew. When the Rig Veda states truth is one but the wise call it by many names, it hints at a unifying principle behind apparent contradictions. Today's physicists grapple with wave-particle duality and quantum superposition, phenomena that defy classical logic but align with mystical traditions embracing paradox. Perhaps the key to unlocking the universe's deepest secrets lies not in discarding these ancient narratives but in learning to read them anew, with the tools of science as our Rosetta Stone. As we stand at the crossroads of quantum physics and ancestral wisdom, we might discover that the future of discovery is rooted in the past. In a quiet lab at MIT, a team of researchers feeds thousands of ancient texts into a neural network: Sumerian cuneiform tablets, Egyptian pyramid inscriptions, Mayan codices, all scanned and digitized. The goal: to train artificial intelligence to detect patterns human eyes might miss. Early results are already turning heads. The algorithm flagged recurring phrases across cultures describing celestial chariots with uncanny consistency, often paired with terms translating to fire or thunder. Even more intriguing, it identified numerical sequences in Hindu Vedic texts that match orbital periods of planets like Jupiter and Saturn, knowledge supposedly beyond ancient astronomers' reach. Could these be hidden references deliberately encoded by scribes who witnessed something extraordinary? But here's the catch: machines learn from the biases of their creators. When another team at Oxford input similar datasets, their AI interpreted the same chariot descriptions as metaphorical references to comets or atmospheric phenomena. The difference wasn't in the data but in the training parameters. One program was primed to prioritize literal interpretations, the other symbolic. This raises a thorny question: are we using AI to uncover truth or merely to confirm our own assumptions? Dr. Lena Nguyen, a computational linguist working on the project, puts it bluntly: an algorithm can spot a pattern, but it can't tell you whether that pattern stems from alien contact, human imagination, or a lost scientific tradition. That's where we still need human judgment. Despite these challenges, the potential is staggering. Projects like Google's DeepMind are now analyzing myth structures the way they'd study protein folding, mapping narrative shapes across cultures. Early findings suggest that stories about sky gods share a unique story arc distinct from other myths: a sudden arrival, a transfer of knowledge, and a departure often linked to celestial events. Meanwhile, independent researchers like Jason Colavito have used AI to debunk long-held claims like the idea that the doggone serious knowledge couldn't have come from terrestrial sources. The algorithms traced plausible pathways for cultural contamination, showing how Western visitors in the 1900s might have influenced tribal lore. The real test may come from a new initiative called Project Ouroboros, which cross-references mythic patterns with astronomical data. When fed descriptions of gods descending in fire from Aztec, Greek, and Mesopotamian sources, the AI flagged clusters of these accounts around dates corresponding to known meteor showers or supernova. But it also found anomalies like a spike in UFO-like reports from medieval Europe in the year 1158, a period with no recorded celestial events. These outliers hint at something even more provocative: that not every ancient visitor story can be explained by comets or hallucinations. As these digital archaeologies peel back layers of time, we're forced to confront a discomforting possibility. What if the patterns emerging aren't just quirks of human psychology, but fragments of a signal one we've been dismissing as noise for centuries? The algorithms won't hand us easy answers, but they're spotlighting mysteries we can no longer ignore. And that leads to the most profound question of all. If the next click of the supercomputer's analysis reveals undeniable evidence of past contact, are we prepared to rewrite history, not just in our textbooks, but in our understanding of what it means to be human? In the summer of 1947, something crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. A rancher found strange debris scattered across his land, metallic scraps that bent but wouldn't break, and fibers that refused to burn. The local airfield issued a press release announcing the recovery of a flying disc, only to retract it hours later, claiming it was merely a weather balloon. Thus began one of history's most enduring cover-ups. For decades, the U.S. government dismissed UFO sightings as misidentified planes, swamp gas, or mass hysteria. Yet declassified documents now reveal a different story. Operation Blue Book, Project Sign, and Grudge weren't just debunking exercises. They were part of a concerted effort to study, and often conceal, encounters that defied explanation. The reasons for secrecy were never simple. During the Cold War, admitting unidentified objects outperforming military jets risked showing vulnerability. But the obsession with control ran deeper. Ancient parallels emerge. Think of the Egyptian priesthood, who guarded astronomical knowledge like state secrets, or the Mayas' elite scribes encoding celestial events in glyphs only the educated could read. Power has always flowed from controlling information. If UFOs represented technology centuries beyond our own, those who understood it first would hold unimaginable advantage. Even today, the Pentagon's sudden pivot from denial to disclosure raises questions. Why now? Some speculate it's because private corporations, not governments, are on the verge of reverse engineering recovered materials, a modern arms race hidden in plain sight. Recent congressional hearings peeled back another layer. In 2023, whistleblowers like David Grush testified under oath about covert programs retrieving non-human craft, allegations the Pentagon neither confirmed nor denied. The irony is palpable. Societies that once carved star maps into temple walls now debate extraterrestrial evidence in sterile committee rooms. Yet the pattern holds whether it's medieval alchemists burning their notes or modern officials redacting documents. The instinct to hoard transformative knowledge seems hardwired into human institutions. What truths remain buried? The answer might lie in the gaps the 95% of UAP reports the government admits it can't explain, or the ancient texts still untranslated in museum vaults. Perhaps the most startling possibility isn't that authorities are hiding aliens, but that they're as bewildered as the rest of us. After all, how do you prepare a species for contact with intelligences that might operate outside time, physics, or even mortality? The greatest secret may be that no one's fully in control, and the truth, when it comes, will rewrite not just history, but our very understanding of reality. In the dead of night, a person wakes paralyzed, sensing a presence in the room, shadowy figures with large, unblinking eyes who spirit them away to a strange, brightly lit place. This scenario, recounted by countless modern abduction experiences, sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but rewind a few centuries and you'll find eerily similar tales whispered across Europe, not of aliens but of fairies. The Irish called them the Shia, beings who'd steal humans away to their hollow hills, returning them hours or years later, often with no memory of what transpired. Scottish folklore warns of the Slua She, a spectral host that sweeps unsuspecting victims into the night. Even the famous story of Tamlin, a man rescued from the fairy queen's clutches, mirrors contemporary accounts of abductees describing hybrid children held by otherworldly captors. Parallels are unsettling: missing time, strange markings on the body, and a lingering sense of having been changed by the encounter. Psychologists offer a fascinating lens to examine these stories. Dr. Susan Clancy's research at Harvard revealed how sleep paralysis, a state where the brain wakes before the body, causing vivid hallucinations, might explain many abduction accounts. Add in the brain's tendency to fill gaps with culturally relevant imagery, and suddenly, medieval peasants see elves while modern witnesses describe greys. But this doesn't explain everything. Some abductees share near-identical details despite no prior knowledge of UFO lore, like the now famous Three Fingers description from the Pascagoula case in 1973. And then there's the hitchhiker effect, a bizarre pattern where individuals who have had one close encounter suddenly find themselves experiencing repeated phenomena, as if tagged by some invisible force. Even their friends and family report odd occurrences, from electronics malfunctioning to vivid, shared dreams. The cultural angle deepens the mystery. In Brazil, abductees often describe beings with fiery red eyes, while in Japan, encounters feature kappa-like entities with moist, reptilian skin. These variations suggest our minds interpret the unknown through a local lens. But what if the unknown itself is adapting? Some researchers, like Dr. Jacques Vallée, propose that UFO phenomena might be a control system, a sort of cosmic theater tailored to our beliefs, nudging human consciousness toward evolution. Whether you view these accounts as psychological glitches, interdimensional interactions, or literal extraterrestrial visits, one thing is clear: the stories we tell about being taken reflect something fundamental about fear, curiosity, and our place in the cosmos. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't whether these experiences are real, but why they feel so familiar. From fairy rings to floating saucers, humanity has always sensed presences just beyond the veil, beings who watch, who test, and who sometimes steal us away. As technology advances and our myths evolve, the archetypes shift, but the underlying narrative remains unchanged. We are not alone, and we never have been. The real mystery is whether the visitors are out there, or if they've been inside us all along, woven into the very fabric of how we perceive the unexplainable. In 1961, astronomer Frank Drake wrote a simple equation on a blackboard, 7 variables, that could estimate the number of intelligent civilizations in our galaxy. At the time, we knew almost nothing about planets beyond our solar system. Today, the equation looks radically different. The Kepler Space Telescope alone has confirmed over 2,600 exoplanets, with statistical models suggesting every star hosts at least one world. That single adjustment, from maybe a few planets to trillions in our galaxy, explodes the first variable in Drake's equation. But the real game changer lies deeper, in the term scientists call L, the average lifespan of a technological civilization. Ancient myths might hold clues to this critical variable. Consider the recurring theme of civilizations destroyed by their own hubris: Atlantis sinking beneath the waves, the biblical Tower of Babel crumbling, or the Norse Ragnarök ending in fire and rebirth. These aren't just morality tales, they're warnings about the fragility of advanced societies. Modern researchers like Dr. Adam Frank at the University of Rochester model L, using climate change and nuclear war scenarios, arriving at sobering estimates. Most civilizations might last only a few centuries after industrialization. Yet the Maya's long count calendar, which spans 5,125 years per cycle, hints at cultures thinking in timelines far beyond our own. If extraterrestrial civilizations have survived for millennia, they'd likely view our current technological adolescence with patience or concern. Here's where cosmic timelines warp perception. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago, but the first stars ignited over 13 billion years back. That means other civilizations could have risen and fallen billions of years before photosynthesis began here. The Silurian hypothesis, proposed by astrophysicists Gavin Schmidt and Frank Adam, asks, could an industrial civilization have existed on Earth itself long before humans? The geological record erases most traces after millions of years, leaving only myths like the Hindu Yugas or Plato's account of Atlantis as faint echoes. Now factor in the Fermi paradox's darkest solution, the Great Filter. This theory suggests something prevents civilizations from reaching interstellar travel, whether self-destruction, predatory AI, or cosmic catastrophes. Ancient astronaut theorists flip this script, proposing that L might be longer than we think if some civilizations transcend physical form, becoming post-biological entities hiding in plain sight. The Dogon's legends of amphibious Namo beings who return to the sky, or the Buddhist concept of Devas energy beings existing beyond material constraints, sound unsettlingly like hypotheses from modern physicists about dimensional or digital ascension. As we peer deeper into the cosmos with tools like the James Webb Telescope, spotting biosignatures on distant worlds, one truth becomes unavoidable. The universe isn't just vast in space, but in time a kaleidoscope of civilizations rising and falling in rhythms we're only beginning to sense. Our radio signals have barely traveled 100 light years. We're cosmic newborns shouting into a nursery that might be empty, or filled with elders who have learned the hard way when to stay silent. The next chapter of this mystery lies not just in the stars above, but in the eons behind and ahead, where time itself becomes the ultimate frontier. 12,800 years ago, Earth was struck by catastrophe. A series of comet fragments slammed into the ice sheets covering North America, triggering fires that scorched continents and plunging the planet into a sudden, brutal cold snap called the Younger Dryas. This wasn't just a climate shift, it was an extinction-level event. Mammoths and other megafauna vanished almost overnight. Human populations collapsed. And yet, amid this chaos, something remarkable emerges from the archaeological record. Survivors didn't just endure, they told stories. From the flood myths of Mesopotamia to the fire from the sky legends of the Hopi, nearly every ancient culture preserves accounts of a world-altering disaster. The Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh describes waters so violent they tore like a wild bull, while the Aztec Codex Chimalpopoca speaks of a time when the sky crushed the earth. Even Plato's tale of Atlantis sinking beneath the waves may echo this event not as fiction, but as fragmented memory. Graham Hancock's controversial work suggests these aren't coincidences. He argues that advanced pre-Younger Dryas civilizations, possibly aided by extraterrestrial knowledge, saw the comet coming and encoded warnings into myths and monuments. His evidence, sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a 12,000-year-old temple adorned with carvings of strange beings and symbols that eerily resemble comet trajectories. The debate rages. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss Hancock's theories as pseudoscience, pointing to the lack of concrete proof for lost high-tech societies. But here's where it gets fascinating. In 2018, researchers found platinum spikes, a telltale comet signature, in sediment layers dating precisely to the Younger Dryas' onset. And then there's the Carolina Bays, hundreds of elliptical depressions stretching from New Jersey to Florida, which some scientists argue are impact craters from the comet's fragments. If true, it means our ancestors witnessed a cosmic bombardment so violent it reshaped the landscape. Now consider this twist: what if someone or something else saw it too? Ancient astronaut theorists propose that extraterrestrials might have monitored Earth during this cataclysm, perhaps even intervening to preserve knowledge. The Dogon tribe's precise astronomical lore, including Sirius B's invisible companion star, suggests they inherited wisdom from beings who understood celestial mechanics far beyond human capability at the time. And then there's the enigmatic Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old Greek computer that tracked planetary movements with gears rivaling 19th-century technology. Could these be relics of a reset not from gods but from star-faring observers who ensured humanity's survival? The survivors' records are everywhere if you know where to look. The Aboriginal Dreamtime stories describe a time of chaos when the sky fell, followed by the arrival of the Wandjina, pale beings who restored order. The Egyptian Edfu texts speak of the primeval ones who rebuilt civilization after a great flood. Even the Bible's Noah narrative shares uncanny parallels with the older Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, as if both were drawing from the same traumatic source. What makes these accounts so compelling isn't just their consistency, it's their urgency. These weren't casual campfire tales, they were survival manuals. The Maya's Dresden Codex contains precise astronomical tables predicting solar eclipses and Venus cycles, knowledge critical for agriculture in a post-apocalyptic world. The Vedic Agni Purana details advanced herbal medicine and water purification techniques, as if compiled by a culture that had weathered collapse. As scientists drill ice cores in Greenland and map underwater craters, we're piecing together a puzzle that stretches across millennia. The line between myth and history blurs. Were our ancestors simply trying to make sense of natural disasters, or were they passing down warnings, not just about what happened, but what might come again? The answers may lie buried not just in the earth, but in the stories we've told since the sky first fell. In the depths of the Amazon, shamans brew a potent concoction called ayahuasca, a vine steeped in mystery and revered as a gateway to realms beyond human perception. Those who drink it describe encounters with beings of impossible geometry, entities who communicate in a language of light and vibration. Strangely, these experiences mirror reports from modern volunteers injected with DMT, the powerful psychedelic compound our brains produce naturally in trace amounts. During clinical trials, subjects consistently describe meeting the same machine elves or self-transforming fractal beings, regardless of cultural background. This eerie consistency raises a startling question. Are these visions mere hallucinations, or could psychedelics act as keys, unlocking doors to dimensions where other intelligences reside? The connection between altered states and cosmic contact stretches back millennia. Siberian shamans consumed the red and white-spotted Amanita muscaria mushroom to journey to the upper world, where they claimed to receive wisdom from star beings. The Mazatec people of Mexico have used psilocybin mushrooms for centuries in rituals honoring the sacred children, entities described as small, luminous figures bearing gifts of healing and prophecy. Even the ancient Greek Eleusinian mysteries, where initiates drank the Kykean brew, spoke of revelations so profound they changed one's understanding of reality forever. These traditions share uncanny overlaps with modern DMT experiences: geometric tunnels, telepathic communication, and the overwhelming sense of being in the presence of something vastly more intelligent than ourselves. Terence McKenna's controversial stoned ape theory adds another layer to this puzzle. He proposed that early human ancestors consuming psilocybin mushrooms experienced accelerated brain development, enhanced pattern recognition, linguistic creativity, and even spiritual awareness. If true, this chemical intervention might explain humanity's sudden cognitive leap 200,000 years ago, but the theory's wildest implication: that these substances didn't just expand our minds, they connected us to an extraterrestrial or interdimensional network, embedding cosmic knowledge in our collective unconscious. Ancient cave paintings at Tassili, Enaja, and Pechmerl, depicting mushroom-headed figures floating among stars, take on new significance through this lens. Were these artists documenting actual encounters, not metaphors? Neuroscience offers tantalizing clues. Dr. Rick Strassman's groundbreaking DMT studies at the University of New Mexico found the compound activates the pineal gland, the very structure Descartes once called the seat of the soul. Brain scans reveal that psychedelics don't just stimulate random neural noise, they quiet the default mode network, the mental filter that shapes our ordinary perception. What if this temporary dismantling of our reality filters allows us to perceive normally hidden layers of existence? Quantum physicist Dr. Andrew Gallimore suggests DMT might enable the brain to decode higher dimensional information, like a radio tuning into frequencies beyond our everyday awareness. The most provocative idea comes from researchers like Dr. Dennis McKenna, who propose that these entity encounters represent interactions with a planetary intelligence, a Gaia consciousness communicating through biochemical signals. Indigenous cultures have long spoken of plant teachers. Perhaps the molecules themselves are the messengers. When an ayahuasca shaman says the vine sings, or a DMT experiencer describes receiving advanced mathematical concepts from fractal beings, could they be touching an ancient, sophisticated network far older than humanity? As clinical trials revive serious study of psychedelics after decades of prohibition, we're left with a paradigm-shifting possibility. These substances might not be drugs in the conventional sense, but tools refined over millennia by both nature and human tradition, for navigating realms our science is only beginning to map. Whether the entities encountered are internal archetypes, interdimensional travelers, or fragments of a planetary mind, one truth emerges: reality is far stranger than we've been taught. And the chemicals coursing through our veins might be the oldest, most reliable technology for exploring its depths. The word for God in ancient Sumerian isn't just a title, it's a celestial roadmap. Their term Dingir was written as a star symbol, literally connecting deities to the heavens. This pattern echoes across languages. The Egyptian Netja depicts a flag on a pole, perhaps symbolizing something planted from above, while the Mayan Ka means both God and shining sky. But it's in Sanskrit where descriptions cross from poetic to perplexing. The Rig Veda doesn't just call gods sky dwellers, it details their vehicles with unsettling precision. Vimanas aren't vague chariots but structured craft with iron joints, roaring engines, and the ability to split the clouds like a blade through water. One passage describes a pilot's panic when his craft circles uncontrollably like a potter's wheel, a malfunction modern astronauts would recognize instantly. Archaeologists face a dilemma when confronting these texts. Are we reading metaphors for natural phenomena or technical manuals disguised as poetry? Take the Agniastra, a weapon from the Mahabharata said to reduce armies to ash with blinding columns of smoke brighter than 1,000 suns. The description parallels nuclear explosions so closely that nuclear physicist Robert Oppenheimer quoted it after the first atomic test. Similarly, ancient Tamil texts speak of Sangam literature detailing aerial battles with weapons that induced hair loss and skin peeling, symptoms we now associate with radiation sickness. Skeptics argue these could be coincidental or later additions, but carbon-dated manuscripts confirm these passages predate modern contamination. The smoking gun might lie in forgotten grammar. Linguist Dr. Rita Singh's analysis of Vedic Sanskrit reveals verb tenses unlike any modern language phrases where actions occur outside linear time, as if describing technology operating beyond human perception. Even more intriguing are the Nyan 2 ancient Sanskrit glossaries listing words for machines with no known earthly counterparts, like the trisula, a three-pronged device said to cut through mountains without touch. Mainstream scholars interpret these as symbolic, but alternative researchers point to artifacts like the Delhi Iron Pillar, a 1600-year-old column of pure iron that shows no rust despite centuries of monsoons, a metallurgical feat modern science struggles to explain. Recent archaeological techniques are bringing new clarity to this debate. LiDAR scans of Indus Valley sites reveal geometric city layouts matching Vedic descriptions of celestial cities brought to Earth. At the same time, spectrographic analysis of ancient metals has uncovered alloys with no known historical usage, including a copper-nickel blend in Egyptian artifacts that requires temperatures exceeding what their furnaces could theoretically produce. The most compelling evidence might come from an unexpected source. AI translation tools trained on cuneiform are flagging previously overlooked technical terms. One Akkadian tablet from Nineveh, long classified as mythology, contains assembly instructions for a water-raising device that reads like an engineer's schematic when passed without religious bias. As we decode these linguistic puzzles, we're forced to reconsider the boundary between sacred texts and scientific records. Perhaps ancient scribes recorded exactly what they witnessed, but through the only vocabulary they had. When a Bronze Age priest wrote of sky boats with invisible wings, he might have been documenting anti-gravity propulsion as best he could. The real breakthrough may come not from choosing between myth and history, but recognizing they might be the same story told in different tongues. And if that's true, every unearthed tablet or translated scroll becomes a potential Rosetta Stone for humanity's forgotten dialogue with the stars. Standing in the pre-dawn gloom of the Salisbury Plain, the first rays of the summer solstice sun slice perfectly between Stonehenge's towering sarcens, a celestial alignment so precise it defies coincidence. This isn't just a pile of rocks, it's a 5,000-year-old stone computer engineered to track the heavens. Across the globe, from Egypt's Great Pyramid, whose shafts align with Orion's belt, to Cambodia's Angkor Wat, where the equinox sun rises directly over its central tower, ancient architects embedded astronomical knowledge into their monuments with uncanny accuracy. The question isn't whether they watched the skies, but why with such obsessive precision. Were these sacred calendars cosmic homing beacons, or something far more profound? Mainstream archaeology favors practical explanations. Stonehenge's alignments likely marked seasonal cycles for agriculture and rituals, while Egypt's pyramid shafts may have symbolized the pharaoh's soul ascending to the stars. But alternative researchers highlight anomalies that challenge this view. The Nazca Lines, visible only from altitude, include a straight arrow marking the exact spot where the sun sets during the December solstice, a feature useless to ground observers. Even more puzzling are the 1,000-year-old Mayan observatories like El Caracol, whose narrow windows track Venus's 8-year cycle with laser-like accuracy. Why would a civilization without telescopes need such precision? Theories spiral into the extraordinary. Could these sites have served as landing markers for celestial visitors, their alignments acting as cosmic GPS coordinates? The Hopi speak of their ancestors being guided to settlements by sky catchiners who communicated through light signals from specific stars. Similarly, the Dogon's legendary Namo beings allegedly pointed to Sirius as their origin point, the very star their temples align with during its helical rising. Even Stonehenge's lesser-known station stones form a perfect rectangle matching the moon's extreme positions, a pattern some argue could function as a geometric Stargate marker. Yet the most compelling evidence might lie in the builders' own words, or rather their silence. The Neolithic people who raised Stonehenge left no written records, but their descendants, the Druids, spoke of ley lines, invisible energy paths connecting sacred sites. Modern LiDAR scans reveal many megalithic monuments sit atop subterranean water channels, suggesting ancient builders detected Earth's electromagnetic grid. Combine this with the acoustic properties of sites like Newgrange, where a chamber amplifies specific sound frequencies during solstice alignments, and a startling possibility emerges. These weren't just observatories, but resonant devices designed to communicate using Earth energies and celestial mechanics as their medium. The gap between mainstream and fringe interpretations narrows when we consider recent discoveries. In 2022, researchers using ground-penetrating radar found hidden pits near Stonehenge that once held towering posts, a potential Woodhenge used for predicting eclipses. Meanwhile, the Aboriginal Wurdi Yuwang stone arrangement in Australia, dating back over 11,000 years, maps the sun's solstices and equinoxes with near-modern accuracy. These findings suggest ancient sky watchers weren't just priest astronomers, but rigorous scientists whose methods we're only beginning to decipher. Perhaps the truth lies in synthesis. The pyramids, standing stones, and temple alignments served multiple purposes: calendars, ritual spaces, and potential signals to unseen watchers. Just as modern SETI telescopes scan for alien radio waves while also studying natural pulsars, ancient monuments might have blended spiritual and scientific functions we've artificially separated. The next time you gaze at a megalithic marvel, ask not just how it was built, but what message or invitation it might still be broadcasting across the ages. After all, if the stars ever did whisper back, these stone sentinels would be the first to know. Imagine a vast, invisible fence surrounding Earth, not to keep us in, but to keep others out. This is the heart of the zoo hypothesis, a provocative solution to the Fermi paradox that suggests advanced civilizations might be observing humanity the way we study animals in a nature reserve. The idea isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. After all, scientists today enforce strict non-interference policies when studying uncontacted tribes in the Amazon. What if galactic society has similar ethical guidelines, deliberately avoiding direct contact to let us evolve without outside influence? The echoes of this theory resound through ancient mythology. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh tells of gods who grew weary of humanity's noise and unleashed a flood, a narrative mirrored in the Bible, the Popol Vuh, and countless other cultures. These stories often share a common thread: celestial beings testing, judging, or occasionally culling humankind. The Greek myth of Prometheus, who defied the gods to give fire to humanity, takes on new meaning if those gods were extraterrestrial overseers wary of our technological leap. Even the Aboriginal concept of Dadiri, a deep listening to the land, hints at a silent, watchful presence just beyond perception. Ethically, the implications are staggering. If we are part of a cosmic conservation project, does that make our suffering permissible in the name of natural development? The dilemma mirrors debates in modern ecology. Should we vaccinate wild wolves against disease or let nature take its course? Some researchers, like Dr. John Ball, argue that the zoo hypothesis explains why UFOs seem to avoid open contact while displaying keen interest in nuclear sites and space launches. Their actions resemble wildlife managers stepping in only when a species threatens its own habitat or theirs. Yet there's a darker twist. Ancient astronaut theorists point to texts like the Book of Enoch, which describes watchers who broke protocol by teaching humans forbidden arts like metallurgy and astrology. This interference allegedly led to their punishment, a cautionary tale that raises chilling questions. Are we being monitored not just for study, but because we're seen as dangerous? The recent surge in UFO sightings around military installations suggests someone is keeping tabs on our progress. Now consider this unsettling possibility. What if the fence isn't permanent? Myths from the Dogon to the Maya speak of cyclical ages where the gods return. Modern astronomers tracking anomalies like Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object to pass through our solar system, wonder if such visitors could be probes checking humanity's readiness for contact. The zoo hypothesis might not just explain the silence, it could foreshadow an eventual unveiling, a moment when we're deemed mature enough to join the galactic community. Or perhaps, like an animal unaware of the zoo's boundaries, we've yet to recognize the barriers and the hands that shape our world. Buried deep within our DNA lies a biological anomaly that defies conventional evolution: the sudden leap in human cognitive abilities around 200,000 years ago. Unlike the gradual changes seen in other species, humanity's explosion of abstract thought, language, and tool use appears almost overnight in the fossil record. Some researchers argue this isn't just a fluke of nature, but evidence of deliberate intervention. The Sumerian tablets speak of the Anunnaki, advanced beings who fashioned mankind from clay and blood, genetically engineering workers to serve them. The biblical Nephilim, described as offspring of the sons of God and human women, echo this theme of hybrid creation. Even the Dogon's origin myths tell of amphibious Nommo beings who reshaped early humans, granting them knowledge and self-awareness. Could these stories be fragmented accounts of genetic manipulation by extraterrestrial visitors? Modern genetics adds fuel to this controversial fire. The human genome contains segments like HR1, a sequence that evolved 60 times faster than other primate DNA linked to brain development. Then there's chromosome 2, the result of a fusion unseen in any other primate, which some speculate could be an artificial modification. Even more puzzling are adjunct DNA regions that show no evolutionary purpose, yet contain precise mathematical patterns resembling advanced coding. Dr. Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA structure, famously proposed the panspermia theory, that life's building blocks arrived via meteorites, but a more radical interpretation suggests these anomalies aren't random cosmic sprinkles, but deliberate edits by intelligences who saw Earth as a laboratory. The ethical implications become staggering when we examine modern parallels. CRISPR technology now allows scientists to edit genes with scissors-like precision, erasing diseases or enhancing traits. Chinese researcher He Jiankui's controversial CRISPR babies experiment in 2018 proved humans can alter embryos, just as the Anunnaki legends describe. Ancient astronaut theorists point to this as evidence that what we call mythology might be ancient journalism, recording events our ancestors witnessed but couldn't fully comprehend. The Hindu Mahabharata describes test tube-like births and cloned warriors, while Egyptian reliefs show pharaohs receiving the Ankh of life, a symbol resembling a syringe, from gods with elongated skulls, a trait some argue indicates hybrid ancestry. But here's the unsettling question at the heart of these theories: what truly makes us human? If our intelligence, creativity, and even our DNA contain fingerprints of outside tampering, does that diminish our autonomy or reveal a cosmic kinship with beings who saw potential in primordial apes? The Hopi speak of 4 previous worlds destroyed before ours, each inhabited by differently evolved versions of humanity. The Aztec Codex Chimalpopoca describes gods who perfected humans through successive iterations. These narratives mirror modern transhumanist visions of a future where we engineer our own evolution, blurring the line between creator and creation. As scientists uncover more genetic oddities like the alien Borrelia bacteria strain displaying DNA unknown to Earth biology, we're forced to confront a paradigm-shifting possibility. Our species' sudden rise might not be the product of blind chance, but a carefully orchestrated leap, one that's still unfolding in labs today. Whether these ancient gods were extraterrestrial scientists, time-traveling humans, or something beyond our current understanding, their legacy pulses in every cell of our bodies. The real mystery isn't just who altered us, but why they left their blueprints hidden in our genes, waiting for the day we'd grow wise enough to read them. What if the unidentified craft streaking across our skies aren't visitors from distant stars but our own descendants, returning from the far future to observe their ancestors? The idea seems ripped from science fiction, yet it's a theory gaining traction among physicists and ancient myth researchers alike. Consider the recurring motif of prophets and seers across cultures, figures like Nostradamus or the Oracle of Delphi, who claim to peer through time's veil. The Babylonian Enuma Anu Enlil tablets describe celestial omens foretelling events centuries in advance, while Hindu texts speak of Kala Jnana, the ability to perceive past and future as one. Could these traditions be fragmented memories of encounters with time travelers mistaken for gods? The physics behind time travel isn't as outlandish as it once seemed. Einstein's theory of relativity confirmed time dilates near massive objects or at high speeds. Astronauts on the ISS age slightly slower than Earth-bound humans. Wormholes, hypothetical shortcuts through space-time, are mathematically plausible under general relativity, though stabilizing them would require exotic matter with negative energy. Dr. Ron Mallett, a University of Connecticut physicist, has even designed a laser-based time machine prototype using circulating light to warp space-time. While these concepts remain theoretical, they suggest time travel might not violate universal laws, just our current engineering limits. Ancient artifacts add eerie weight to the possibility. The Antikythera mechanism's precision gears could track celestial cycles far into the future, while the Voynich manuscript's undeciphered pages contain plant illustrations resembling genetically modified species not yet discovered. Even more provocative are medieval accounts like the Chronicle of Nuremberg, which depicts a 1561 sky battle involving cylinders and globes, a scene suspiciously reminiscent of modern UFO dogfights. Skeptics dismiss these as comets or atmospheric phenomena, but the consistency of descriptions across eras is hard to ignore. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the behavior of modern UAPs. Navy pilots report crafts that anticipate maneuvers before they're executed, as if privy to future decisions. The infamous Tic Tac incident featured an object that appeared precisely where radar predicted it would be minutes later, a feat impossible without foreknowledge. Even the Pentagon's UAP task force has quietly explored temporal portholes as one hypothesis for these anomalies. This intertwines with indigenous wisdom about time's fluid nature. The Aboriginal dreamtime blurs past, present, and future into a single continuum, while Andean shamans speak of Pachacuti, epochs where time folds back on itself. Modern quantum physics echoes this with the block universe theory, where all moments exist simultaneously like frames in a film reel. If consciousness can access these deeper layers through meditation, psychedelics, or technology we've yet to invent, then the line between visitor and ancestor dissolves entirely. The implications are staggering. Future humans might study us the way anthropologists examine Neolithic settlements, documenting our wars, environmental crises, and cultural evolution before their records of our era were lost to some cataclysm. This casts ancient astronaut theories in a new light. The gods who taught agriculture and astronomy could have been historians preserving knowledge they knew we'd need. The warning in Plato's Critias about Atlantis sinking in a single day and night takes on chilling urgency if read as a message across millennia. As particle colliders probe spacetime's fabric and AI reconstructs lost languages, we're inching toward technologies that might one day make temporal journeys feasible. Until then, the mystery lingers in our oldest stories and newest sightings, a whisper that the strangers in the sky might not be strangers at all, but versions of ourselves we've yet to become. The truth could be hiding in plain sight, woven into myths we've told since the first campfire, waiting for the day we're advanced enough to recognize our own reflection in the cosmos. Ezekiel's vision in the Old Testament is one of the most electrifying and perplexing accounts in religious scripture. The prophet describes a whirlwind from the north, a great cloud with flashing fire, and within it, 4 living creatures with humanoid forms but wings that touched one another. Above them, a vast expanse shimmered like crystal, and over that, a throne of sapphire. But it's the wheels that seize attention, enormous, interconnected rings full of eyes, moving in any direction without turning, their rims high and awesome. For centuries, theologians interpreted this as a divine manifestation, a poetic depiction of God's chariot. But in the 1970s, NASA engineer Joseph Blumrich did something radical. He took Ezekiel's description literally. Blumrich, who helped design the Saturn V rocket, dismantled the passage line by line, the living creatures with their straight legs and calves' feet. Landing gear, the wheels within wheels that moved in all directions without pivoting, omnidirectional propulsion systems. Even the eyes covering the rims could be read as portholes or sensor arrays. His schematics, published in the Spaceships of Ezekiel, depicted a vehicle startlingly similar to a modern lunar module, a craft with rotating sections for stability, emitting bursts of fire, exhaust plumes, as it descended. Skeptics dismissed it as creative engineering, but the parallels are hard to ignore. When Ezekiel writes, "The spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels," could he have been describing an integrated guidance system? Theological scholars push back, arguing that ancient Near Eastern literature is rich with symbolic throne visions like Isaiah's seraphim or Daniel's heavenly court. To them, Ezekiel's account aligns with Mesopotamian divine chariot motifs, where God's rode storms into battle. But here's the wrinkle: unlike other biblical visions, Ezekiel's includes shockingly mechanical details. He notes the wheel's construction had the appearance of beryl, a mineral known for its glass-like transparency, an odd choice if describing purely spiritual phenomena. The text even specifies the creature's wings made a sound, like the roar of rushing waters, a description modern UFO witnesses might recognize as the hum of advanced propulsion. This debate isn't just academic. It forces us to reconsider how ancient people processed the incomprehensible. When Ezekiel writes of a hand stretched out holding a scroll, was this a metaphor for divine revelation or a clumsy description of an entity extending a device? The prophet's subsequent paralysis and muteness mirror modern accounts of abductees experiencing temporary shock after close encounters. even the burning coals scattered over Jerusalem could be reinterpreted through the lens of radiation or energy weapons. What makes Ezekiel's account so compelling is its eerie resonance with later religious miracles. The Virgin Mary's apparitions at Fatima in 1917 were preceded by reports of a luminous, spinning disk witnessed by 70,000 people. Hindu scriptures describe Krishna's Sudarshana chakra, a fiery, flying discus that returns to its sender like a drone, and the Quran's story of Solomon commanding a wind-borne carpet of intertwined wood and metal sounds suspiciously like a description of composite aircraft. These parallels suggest a pattern. When faced with technology beyond their understanding, our ancestors reached for the only vocabulary they had: the divine. Tomorrow's revelation might just be hidden in yesterday's scripture, waiting for us to read between the lines. And if that's true, the next chapter of this mystery lies not in the stars, but in the sacred texts we've been venerating or misreading for millennia. Beneath the towering stones of ancient megaliths and beneath the foundations of temples older than recorded history, there may lie a hidden grid, an invisible web of energy connecting sacred sites across the globe like nodes in a vast interstellar network. The idea isn't just the stuff of fringe theories, it's rooted in tangible anomalies. Take ley lines, those enigmatic alignments first mapped by amateur archaeologist Alfred Watkins in the 1920s. Stretching for miles across the British countryside, these straight tracks link stone circles, hilltops, and holy wells with uncanny precision. But what if these alignments weren't just paths for pilgrims or trade routes, but conduits for something far more extraordinary, a kind of prehistoric internet, humming with energy we're only beginning to detect? Modern technology lends startling credence to this idea. Satellite imaging reveals that many of the world's most enigmatic structures, from the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Angkor Wat, sit atop underground rivers or geological fault lines, places where Earth's natural electromagnetic fields are strongest. Researchers like physicist Dr. Paul Devereux have documented measurable surges in piezoelectric energy at sites like Karnak in France, where thousands of standing stones mark a landscape crackling with subterranean quartz. This isn't just geological coincidence. Ancient cultures seem to know these spots held power. The Hopi spoke of kivas, subterranean chambers built atop earth veins where shamans could commune with the spirit world. The Chinese practice of feng shui mirrors this, aligning structures with the dragon lines of terrestrial energy. Nikola Tesla, the visionary inventor, stumbled onto something eerily similar in the early 20th century. His Wardenclyffe Tower wasn't just a radio transmitter, it was designed to harness Earth's resonant frequencies, what he called the natural music of the planet. Tesla believed the Earth itself could act as a conductor for wireless energy, with specific frequencies like the now confirmed Schumann resonance of 7.83 Hz, allowing communication across vast distances. His notes even reference ancient structures, speculating they were amplifiers for energies we've forgotten how to use. Today, cutting-edge science is catching up to these radical ideas. Quantum entanglement experiments show particles influencing each other instantaneously across light years, suggesting information can transcend space-time. Meanwhile, projects like the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton have detected statistically significant anomalies in random number generators during global events, hinting at a collective field of awareness. Could ancient monuments have been designed to tap into this very phenomenon? The geometry of sites like Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid isn't just astronomically precise. It's acoustically optimized with chambers that amplify specific sound frequencies known to alter consciousness. The implications are staggering. If these sites were part of a galactic communication grid, transmitting data via Earth energies and cosmic alignments, then the messages might still be streaming encoded in the very stones. Researchers like Dr. Robert Scott propose that the Sphinx's erosion patterns suggest it's far older than Egyptologists claim, possibly dating back to a pre-flood civilization that understood this system. Even more provocatively, signals from these sites might not be meant for us at all. The mathematical constants embedded in pyramid dimensions or the Fibonacci sequences in temple art could be interstellar handshakes, protocols for a network we've yet to fully access. So how do we tune in? Modern experiments offer clues. In 2018, a team at the University of Washington transmitted data using neutrinos particles that pass through matter effortlessly, suggesting a future where communication bypasses physical infrastructure entirely. Meanwhile, the SETI Institute has begun monitoring not just radio waves, but laser pulses and quantum signals. But the real breakthrough might lie in merging ancient wisdom with new tech. Imagine repurposing megalithic sites as receivers, using their known resonant frequencies to listen for patterns in cosmic background radiation, or deploying AI to decode the geometric language of petroglyphs that might be more than art, perhaps galactic coordinates or schematics. The truth is, we may have been standing atop the keys to interstellar dialogue for millennia, mistaking them for relics of a primitive past. As we digitize cave paintings and scan pyramids for hidden chambers, we're not just uncovering history, we might be booting up humanity's oldest modem, ready to reconnect with a network that's been waiting for us to remember how to log on. The next message from the stars might not come from a telescope, but from beneath our feet, vibrating through the same stones our ancestors touched when they first looked up and wondered who else was out there. The human brain didn't evolve in a smooth, steady climb, it exploded. Around 50,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened. Our ancestors, who had been crafting simple stone tools for millennia, suddenly began painting intricate cave art, sewing tailored clothing, and developing complex language. This great leap forward, as anthropologists call it, remains one of science's greatest unsolved mysteries. The speed of this transformation defies conventional evolutionary timelines. Most species take hundreds of thousands of years to develop significant new traits, yet Homo sapiens' cognitive abilities skyrocketed in what amounts to a geological blink. Could this acceleration have been purely natural, or does the answer lie hidden in humanity's oldest stories, tales of gods who descended to teach us the secrets of fire, agriculture, and the stars? Ancient texts from across the globe whisper eerily similar accounts. The Sumerian tablets describe the Anunnaki, beings who genetically altered early humans to serve as laborers, granting them knowledge and self-awareness. The Egyptian god Thoth, depicted with the head of an ibis, was said to have given humanity the gift of writing and mathematics. In Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl taught people how to cultivate corn, a crop that, genetically speaking, shouldn't exist without deliberate hybridization. These stories share a common thread: advanced beings intervening to accelerate human development. Skeptics dismiss them as allegories, but the sheer consistency across isolated cultures raises unsettling questions. Why would civilizations with no contact invent nearly identical narratives of divine education? Paleontology adds another layer to the puzzle. The so-called missing link in human evolution isn't just a gap in the fossil record, it's a chasm. While we've found remains of early hominids like Australopithecus and Homo erectus, the transition to Homo sapiens' advanced cognition lacks clear transitional fossils. Some researchers, like Dr. Rick Potts of the Smithsonian, argue that climate fluctuations forced rapid brain development. Others, such as geneticist Dr. Bruce Long, point to mutations in genes like HL1 and ASPAM, which appeared suddenly and spread rapidly, supercharging neural connectivity. But here's the catch: these genetic changes are statistically improbable through random mutation alone. The odds of such complex mutations arising spontaneously are astronomically low unless something or someone gave evolution a nudge. Modern genetics might hold the key to this ancient riddle. The human genome contains segments of foreign DNA viral remnants that make up nearly 8% of our genetic code. Most are inert, but some, like syncytin, play crucial roles in placental development. This suggests that viral infections, far from being purely destructive, may have occasionally gifted evolutionary advantages. Could more sophisticated genetic interventions have occurred? The discovery of CRISPR-like sequences in ancient bacteria hints that precise gene editing might be older than we thought. Even more provocative are the junk DNA regions that show no evolutionary purpose yet contain intricate mathematical patterns, almost like embedded code waiting to be activated. The debate rages on. Mainstream science champions the cognitive revolution theory, positing that cultural innovations like language and tool use created a feedback loop, accelerating brain development. But alternative researchers highlight anomalies that defy conventional explanations. The Dogon tribe's precise knowledge of Sirius B, invisible to the naked eye, or the sudden appearance of advanced astronomical alignments in Neolithic structures like Göbekli Tepe, suggest that someone or something imparted knowledge our species wasn't yet equipped to discover alone. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe early humans did experience a natural cognitive leap, but one that was catalyzed by contact with a forgotten civilization, terrestrial or otherwise. The Aboriginal concept of dream time, where ancestors shaped the land and imparted wisdom, or the Hindu notion of cyclical yugas, where knowledge is periodically lost and regained, might be more than myth. They could be fragmented memories of a time when humanity's mentors walked among us, leaving traces not just in our stories, but in our very DNA. As we unlock the secrets of our genome and decode ancient texts with artificial intelligence, we edge closer to answering the ultimate question: are we solely the product of blind evolution, or did someone help write the blueprint of human consciousness? The answer may be written in the stars, and in the double helix we've only just begun to understand. The ancient Hindu concept of Maya, the idea that our perceived reality is an elaborate illusion, has echoed through the centuries, finding uncanny resonance in today's most cutting-edge scientific hypothesis that we might be living in an advanced digital simulation. The parallels are striking. Hindu sages describe the universe as a divine projection, a tapestry of appearances woven by a higher consciousness. Fast forward to the 21st century, and figures like Elon Musk argue there's a 1 in billions chance we're not living in a computer-generated construct, given the trajectory of virtual reality technology. But what if these aren't just coincidental overlaps? What if the mythmakers of old weren't speaking metaphorically, but documenting a truth about reality's fabric that modern physics is only now beginning to grasp? This convergence of ancient wisdom and modern theory takes a tantalizing turn when we examine UFO phenomena through the simulation lens. Witnesses often describe encounters where the laws of physics seem to bend, crafts accelerating instantaneously, morphing shapes, or vanishing without a trace. These anomalies bear an unsettling resemblance to glitches in a virtual environment, like rendering errors in a video game when the system struggles to process complex inputs. The infamous 2004 Nimitz incident, where Navy pilots tracked a UAP descending 80,000 feet in less than a second, defies known aerodynamics but aligns perfectly with how an object might behave if it were teleporting between coordinates in a simulated space. Even the common screen door effect reported by abductees, a grid-like pattern overlaying their vision, mirrors the pixelation artifacts of digital displays. Elon Musk isn't the only heavyweight lending credibility to simulation theory. Physicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has publicly entertained the idea, while Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom's seminal paper argues that an advanced civilization with enough computing power would inevitably create ancestor simulations indistinguishable from reality. But here's the twist: ancient texts might have already framed this debate. The Vishnu Purana describes countless Brahmandas, or self-contained universes, each with its own laws, a concept eerily similar to server-hosted virtual worlds. Buddhist teachings go further, positing that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, existing only as interdependent projections. These aren't vague spiritual musings, they're precise metaphysical models that predate Silicon Valley by millennia. The implications ripple outward when we consider how simulation theory could explain the persistent, mythological elements in UFO encounters. Entities described as machine elves by DMT users, or the archetypal Nordic aliens reported in close encounters, might not be extraterrestrials at all, but non-player characters, NPC or admin avatars in the simulation. Even the recurring motif of missing time during abductions could reflect a system pause, like a game freezing to load new assets. Ancient astronaut theorists take this further, suggesting that the gods of myth were hyper-advanced programmers who occasionally debugged their creation, leaving traces in humanity's collective memory as tales of divine intervention. Yet the most provocative question isn't whether we're in a simulation, but why the ancients seem to anticipate this possibility with such startling clarity. The Gnostic Gospel of Thomas declares, "The kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it," a statement that reads like a commentary on unrendered code. Indigenous Australian Dreamtime stories describe a shimmering, mutable reality where ancestors sing the world into existence each day, mirroring the way a simulation would require constant processing to maintain illusionary continuity. These parallels suggest that either humanity has always sensed reality's ductile nature on some subconscious level, or that fragments of the truth were deliberately seeded in our cultural DNA. As quantum physicists grapple with the observer effect, where particles behave differently when measured, and programmers inch toward creating conscious AI, the line between science and spirituality blurs. Perhaps the sages who meditated on Maya and the engineers building VR headsets are asking the same question in different languages. What if reality isn't the bedrock we assume, but a dynamic construct waiting to be hacked? Whether through meditation or mathematics, the search for answers continues, bridging the gap between temple carvings and Turing tests in a dialogue as old as curiosity itself. Imagine a team of astronauts turned archaeologists brushing dust from a peculiar structure half buried in the rust-colored soil of Mars, a relic unmistakably not of human origin. The discovery would rewrite history, not just for our planet, but for our understanding of life itself. This isn't science fiction anymore. With rovers drilling into Martian rock and probes planned for Europa's icy oceans, we're on the brink of becoming interstellar archaeologists, sifting through the cosmic sands for traces of other civilizations. The tools we've honed in Egypt's valleys and Peru's deserts may soon find new purpose on alien worlds, but how do you dig when the past you're uncovering isn't your own? The parallels to terrestrial archaeology are striking yet fraught with unique challenges. On Earth, we painstakingly document layers of soil to reconstruct timelines, but what if Martian strata tell stories in minerals we've never seen? Our current rovers, like Perseverance, are equipped with drills and spectrometers, but they're designed to search for microbial fossils, not the ruins of cities. Future missions may need entirely new protocols. The SETI Institute's proposed post-detection guidelines suggest treating any potential artifact with the caution of a radioactive spill, isolating and studying it without contamination. But isolation assumes we'd recognize what we're seeing, a structure built by silicon-based life or a machine powered by dark matter might not even register as technology to our senses. Ethical dilemmas loom large. On Earth, archaeologists debate whether to excavate sacred sites or leave them undisturbed. How much more complex would that decision become if we stumbled upon a Martian equivalent of a burial ground? The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 prohibits claiming celestial bodies but says nothing about handling alien cultural heritage. Would extracting artifacts be scientific progress or interstellar looting? Some researchers, like Dr. Sarah Stewart Johnson of Georgetown University, argue for a prime directive approach, observing without interfering, much as we'd hope advanced civilizations might do with our own ruins. Others counter that discovery demands engagement, pointing to how the Rosetta Stone unlocked Egyptian hieroglyphs. The difference, of course, is that the Rosetta Stone was crafted by humans for humans. An alien artifact might be as incomprehensible as a smartphone to a Neanderthal. Then there's the question of preservation. Earth's atmosphere erodes stone and metal, but Mars' thin air and Europa's sub-zero oceans could preserve relics for billions of years. A single misstep, like drilling into a pressurized chamber or melting ice that's encased a masterpiece of alien engineering, could destroy in seconds what eons had safeguarded. The field of xenoarchaeology doesn't even exist yet, but it's already racing against time to draft protocols before someone or something makes the first monumental find. Perhaps the greatest challenge is one of perspective. Human archaeology is at its core a conversation with our ancestors, but interstellar archaeology would be a shout into the void, hoping for an echo we can't predict. The ruins we uncover might not just be artifacts, they could be warnings, messages, or even invitations. And once we brush off that first alien dust, there's no going back to a universe where we were ever alone. The tools are ready, the questions are waiting, all that's left is the dig. Percival Lowell peered through his telescope in the thin Arizona air, convinced he was witnessing the dying gasps of a civilization. The year was 1894, and the wealthy astronomer's sketches of Mars sent shockwaves through the scientific community. A network of straight, artificial-looking lines he called canals. Evidence, he claimed, of a desperate alien race channeling water from polar ice caps to their parched cities. Lowell's theories were later debunked as optical illusions, but the allure of Mars as a cradle of lost civilizations never faded. Fast forward to today, and our rovers crawl across the planet's rust-colored plains, uncovering river valleys and lake beds that whisper of a wetter, warmer past. The question lingers, if life flourished there once, did it ever reach for the stars? Mars has always been more than a planet. It's a mirror for humanity's hopes and fears. The Romans named it after their god of war, its blood-red hue evoking battlefields and conquest. But older cultures saw it differently. The Babylonians called it Nergal, a deity of both destruction and renewal, while the Egyptians linked it to Horus, the falcon-headed god who triumphed over chaos. These dualities, creation and ruin, resilience and hubris, echo in our modern explorations. When NASA Perseverance rover drilled into Jezero crater, an ancient lake bed, it wasn't just collecting rock samples, it was probing the ghost of a world that might have once thrived. The discovery of complex organic molecules and methane spikes in the atmosphere keeps the debate alive. Are we seeing the fingerprints of long-dead microbes, or something far more tantalizing? The myth of Martian canals resurfaces in eerie ways. satellite images reveal recurrent slope lineae, dark streaks that ebb and flow with the seasons, hinting at briny water seeping to the surface. Then there's the infamous face on Mars, a mesa in Cydonia that, when photographed by Viking in 1976, appeared sculpted into humanoid features. Later high-resolution images revealed it as a trick of light and shadow, yet the fascination persists. Why? Because Mars forces us to confront our deepest existential questions. If a civilization did arise there, what doomed it? Climate collapse, war, or did they, like Lowell imagined, flee a dying world, leaving behind ruins we've yet to recognize? Parallels to Earth are unsettling. Our own planet has weathered 5 mass extinctions, and we're arguably triggering a 6th. The same technologies that let us study Martian dust could one day document our own demise. The Indus Valley, Easter Island, and other fallen societies stand as cautionary tales of overreach and environmental neglect. If Mars once cradled life, its silence now is a cosmic warning. Intelligence is no guarantee of longevity. As SpaceX's Starship prototypes explode and relaunch over Texas, the next chapter of this story is being written. Will we become Martians, not as conquerors but as humble students of a world that may have already lived and perished through our dreams? The answer lies not just in the red soil beneath our rover's wheels, but in whether we can heed the whispers of a planet that might have already played out our fate. In the late 20th century, physicist Dr. Anthony Perrat made a startling discovery while studying high-energy plasma discharges, the same phenomenon that creates the aurora borealis. When he ran electrical currents through gas-filled chambers, the swirling plasma formations that emerged bore an uncanny resemblance to ancient petroglyphs from around the world. Zigzagging lines, concentric rings, and towering humanoid figures with radiating halos appeared not as artistic abstractions, but as precise recordings of celestial events. Perrat's research suggested that thousands of years ago, Earth may have been bombarded by intense plasma storms, lighting up the sky with shapes so vivid they were etched into rock by awestruck witnesses. This theory casts new light on some of history's most baffling celestial accounts. The biblical pillar of fire that guided the Israelites by night, or the fiery chariots described in the Book of Kings, could have been towering plasma filaments naturally occurring cosmic lightning. Even the parting of the Red Sea takes on a scientific dimension when you consider plasma's ability to ionize air and water, potentially creating temporary pathways through charged particles. Skeptics argue these explanations strip the mystery from ancient miracles, but proponents counter that understanding the physics behind these events makes them no less awe-inspiring. After all, a plasma storm powerful enough to be seen globally would have been a cataclysmic spectacle, searing itself into humanity's collective memory as divine intervention. Modern UFO sightings add fuel to this debate. Witnesses often describe craft surrounded by glowing, pulsating auras, characteristics eerily similar to ball lightning or magnetospheric plasma. The infamous Hessdalen lights in Norway, for instance, appear as floating orbs that change color and speed unpredictably, darting through valleys with no apparent propulsion. Scientific monitoring has detected strong electromagnetic disturbances during these events, yet their exact cause remains unknown. Even the U.S. Navy's patented UFO technology relies on generating plasma fields around aircraft to reduce drag, a concept that blurs the line between natural phenomena and advanced engineering. The implications ripple through theology and science alike. If plasma discharges could explain the burning bush or the wheel of fire seen by Ezekiel, does that negate their spiritual significance or reveal how the natural world might intersect with the divine? Indigenous cultures from the Aboriginal Australians to the Native American Hopi have oral traditions of sky beings emerging from luminous vortices, suggesting a universal human response to these electromagnetic spectacles. Plasma's capacity to form intricate, lifelike structures, even temporary plasma life, in laboratory settings, raises the provocative idea that some entities reported in UFO encounters might be self-organizing energy patterns mistaken for intelligences. As we peer deeper into both ancient art and modern sky anomalies, a pattern emerges. Humanity has always sought to explain the unexplainable, whether through gods, angels, or extraterrestrials. Plasma physics offers a bridge between these narratives, reminding us that the universe is capable of wonders far stranger than fiction. The next time you gaze at a centuries-old petroglyph or a contemporary UFO video, consider this. The line between natural phenomenon and otherworldly encounter may be thinner and more electrifying than we ever imagined. The James Webb Space Telescope has transformed our view of the cosmos, revealing swirling galaxies older than we thought possible, detecting water vapor in planets light years away, even spotting potential signs of life in the atmospheres of distant worlds. Yet despite these breathtaking discoveries, one question grows louder with each new observation. Where is everybody? This is the Fermi paradox in stark relief, the glaring contradiction between the universe's apparent readiness for life and the eerie silence that greets our attempts to make contact. The latest data from JWST deepens the mystery. We now know rocky exoplanets are staggeringly common, with many orbiting in habitable zones. Chemical building blocks for life permeate the cosmos. The conditions for intelligence seem to exist everywhere, so why does it feel like we're shouting into an empty room? One chilling answer comes from the dark forest hypothesis, inspired by Chinese science fiction. Imagine the universe as a vast, shadowy woodland where every civilization is a hunter, hiding in fear. Any species that reveals itself risks annihilation by others who see competition as a threat. This isn't just paranoia, it's a survival strategy. Ancient myths whisper similar warnings. The Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh describes celestial beings who grew weary of humanity's noise and unleashed catastrophe. The Hindu Mahabharata speaks of the Brahmastra, a weapon so devastating its use was forbidden except as a last resort. Even the biblical Tower of Babel story can be read as a cautionary tale about reaching too far, too fast. These narratives suggest our ancestors grasped a brutal truth. The cosmos might not be a friendly place for the naive, yet other traditions paint a radically different picture. Indigenous cultures like the Hopi and Dogon describe a universe brimming with benevolent star nations who once walked among us, sharing knowledge before retreating to the heavens. The Sanskrit Rigveda hymns speak of devas and asuras locked in eternal balance, implying cosmic harmony rather than predation. Tibetan Buddhist texts describe Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of enlightened beings who watch over humanity's evolution. Could the truth lie somewhere between these extremes? The JWST discovery of dead exoplanets, worlds with the right conditions for life, yet seemingly barren, hints at a third possibility. Civilizations might not be hiding out of fear or harmony, but because they've transcended the need for physical signals altogether. Consider this: the most advanced intelligence might not broadcast radio waves or build megastructures. It could exist as pure information woven into the fabric of space-time itself. Ancient mystics from the Kabbalists to the Taoists described reality as a web of vibrating energy where consciousness and matter intertwine. Modern quantum physics isn't so different. The holographic principle suggests our three-dimensional universe might be a projection from a two-dimensional surface encoded with cosmic data. If that's the case, the signals we've been searching for could be all around us, embedded in the very laws of physics, waiting for us to develop the perceptual tools to decode them. The real paradox may not be the silence, but our limited imagination. We've been listening for echoes of our own technology, radio pulses, laser beams, Dyson spheres, while overlooking the possibility that communication could take forms we've yet to conceive. The Maya tracked Venus cycles not with telescopes, but through precise mathematics encoded in temple alignments. Aboriginal song lines transmit navigational knowledge across generations through melody and dance. Perhaps the universe's great civilizations don't hide or harmonize, they communicate in a language we're only beginning to glimpse, written not in electromagnetic waves but in the geometry of quasars, the spin of black holes, or the entangled states of particles separated by light years. The answer to Fermi's famous question might not be they're not there, but we haven't learned how to see them yet, and that changes everything. Star Trek's Prime Directive wasn't just science fiction, it was a radical ethical blueprint. The idea that advanced civilizations should never interfere with developing worlds wasn't dreamed up by screenwriters. It echoed warnings buried deep in humanity's oldest stories. The ancient Greeks spoke of Prometheus, punished for giving fire to mortals. The Dogon tribe's Namo beings allegedly withheld certain knowledge until humanity was ready. Even the biblical tale of the Tower of Babel carries a chilling subtext: reach too far, too fast, and face divine retribution. These weren't just myths, they were cautionary tales about the dangers of unguided advancement, as if our ancestors sensed that some doors, once opened, can't be closed. Today, that wisdom is crystallizing into real-world policy. The United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs has quietly drafted protocols for extraterrestrial contact, dubbed the Declaration of Principles Concerning Extraterrestrial Life. Much like the Prime Directive, these guidelines emphasize non-interference, cultural preservation, and gradual disclosure to prevent societal shock. The SETI Institute's First Contact framework goes further, proposing a global verification system to prevent misinformation, followed by coordinated scientific and diplomatic responses. But here's the twist. These protocols aren't just about protecting humanity from aliens, they're about protecting aliens from us. Microbial contamination from Earth could devastate extraterrestrial ecosystems, while unchecked curiosity might trample artifacts more ancient than the pyramids. The irony is profound. We're creating rules to avoid becoming the interfering gods our ancestors feared. The deeper challenge lies in defining harm. When NASA sterilizes Mars rovers, it's not just avoiding bacterial contamination, it's grappling with a philosophical quandary. If microbial life exists there, do we have the right to displace it with our own? Indigenous perspectives offer unexpected insights. The Maori fought to legally recognize the Wanganui River as a living entity, while Ecuador's constitution grants nature the right to exist. These frameworks suggest a shift from seeing first contact as a diplomatic event to recognizing it as an interspecies covenant. Imagine discovering a civilization on Europa's ice-shrouded oceans, not as primitive microbes, but as intelligent, gelatinous beings thriving in absolute darkness. Our very presence, our lights and probes, could unravel their world. Yet within this ethical maze lies an exhilarating possibility. Contact might be the catalyst that finally unites humanity. The Apollo missions briefly made borders vanish as people worldwide watched Earth rise over the lunar horizon. A confirmed extraterrestrial signal could dwarf that effect. Astronomer Jill Tarter notes that SETI international agreements already bypass geopolitical tensions. China, Russia, and the U.S. share detection data without hesitation. Religious leaders from the Vatican to Tibetan Buddhism have openly pondered how cosmic neighbors might align with spiritual teachings. Even militaries have quietly cooperated. The Pentagon's UFO task force shares findings with allies, a rarity in defense circles. The ultimate test won't be technological but moral. Ancient warnings and modern protocols converge on one truth. First contact isn't about who they are, it's about who we choose to become. Will we be the reckless gods of legend, or the stewards our descendants will remember? The answer might determine whether the universe embraces us or leaves us to our silence. From the fiery chariots of ancient texts to the unidentified aerial phenomena captured by fighter jets, the threads connecting past and present grow harder to ignore with each passing discovery. What began as whispers in clay tablets and cave paintings now echoes in declassified government reports and astrophysics journals, a persistent suggestion that humanity's story might be far grander and far stranger than we've dared to imagine. The pyramid's celestial alignments mirror NASA star tracking algorithms. Descriptions of sky gods bear uncanny resemblance to modern accounts of extraterrestrial encounters. Even our DNA holds puzzles that challenge the timeline of evolution itself. These aren't isolated coincidences, they're pieces of a mosaic we're only beginning to assemble. The key to unlocking this mystery may lie in dismantling the false divide between science and myth. For too long, we've treated ancient accounts as mere allegories while dismissing modern anomalies as hoaxes or hallucinations. But what if both perspectives hold fragments of a larger truth? Archaeologists wielding LiDAR scanners now confirm flood myths with geological evidence of prehistoric tsunamis. Plasma physicists decode petroglyphs as eyewitness records of cosmic electrical storms. Suddenly, the magic of old begins to look like sophisticated observations cloaked in the language of their time. The Vimanas weren't metaphors, they were attempts to describe advanced aircraft. The Wanjana's haloed heads might have been helmets, when Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel matches the flight patterns of experimental military crafts. We're forced to reconsider everything. This isn't about proving aliens built the pyramids or that every myth is a historical document. It's about recognizing that human knowledge has always flowed through multiple streams: empirical observation, spiritual insight, and yes, perhaps even extraterrestrial contact. The doggone serious lore could stem from both careful astronomy and ancestral encounters. Göbekli Tepe's carvings might encode both ritual symbolism and celestial events. The boundaries blur because reality itself is far more fluid than our categories allow. As Carl Sagan once reminded us, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. That search requires looking backward as much as outward, deciphering the warnings and wisdom etched in our oldest stories while keeping our telescopes trained on the stars. The answers won't be found in dogma or dismissal, but in the courageous space between. So stay curious, question everything, and the next time you gaze at the night sky, remember, you're part of a conversation that began when the first human looked upward and wondered who else might be looking back. Share your thoughts below. What connections between ancient myths and modern science fascinate you most? The greatest discoveries often begin with a simple act: daring to